I should have known. The late nights. The sudden obsession with her phone. The way she smelled like a cologne I never owned. But I ignored it. I let myself believe that Amanda was still the woman I married. Until that night. It was supposed to be a regular Friday. I had just gotten home from work, exhausted, hoping to spend a quiet evening with my wife. But the house was empty. Amanda had told me earlier that she was going out with the girls, and I had no reason to doubt her. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. I grabbed a beer and settled into the couch, mindlessly scrolling through my phone. That's when a message popped up in the group chat with my buddies. "Yo, Jason, isn't this your wife?" Attached was a picture. I clicked on it, my breath catching in my throat. There she was, Amanda, at some house party, wrapped around another man. His hands were all over her, his mouth close to her ear as she laughed like she didn't have a husband waiting for her at home. My heart pounded in my chest, a slow burn of rage crawling through my veins. I stared at the screen, willing it to be a mistake. Maybe it was an old picture. Maybe it was someone who just looked like her. But then, another message came through. "Bro, this is happening right now. My cousin's at the party. He saw them go upstairs." I felt something inside me snap. Grabbing my keys, I was out the door before I could even think. The drive to the party was a blur, just flashes of streetlights and the sound of my own heavy breathing. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. My mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, each one darker than the last. How long had she been doing this? Who the hell was this guy? Did she ever feel guilty when she came home to me? When I pulled up to the house, I could hear the music from the street. People were scattered outside, laughing, drinking, completely unaware of the storm that was about to hit. I didn't hesitate. I pushed through the crowd, ignoring the confused stares. The house reeked of alcohol and cheap cologne. I scanned the room, but she wasn't downstairs. Then, I heard it. A laugh. Her laugh. Coming from upstairs. I took the steps 2 at a time, my pulse roaring in my ears. When I reached the door, I didn't bother knocking. I slammed it open, and there she was. Amanda, half-dressed, straddling some guy, his hands gripping her hips like she belonged to him. Her head snapped toward me, eyes wide in shock. "Jason? What the F?" The guy, tall, smug-looking, with a stupid smirk on his face, just leaned back on his elbows like he didn't have a care in the world. "You got a problem," he said, cocky as hell. I gave her a taste of my Johnson. "You mad about that?" The room went silent, and then, all hell broke loose. Time stopped. My breathing slowed, but my pulse pounded so hard I could hear it in my skull. The smug bastard sitting in front of me, half naked with my wife on top of him, grinned like he had just won the lottery. "You got a problem," he had the nerve to say. I gave her a taste of my Johnson. "You mad about that?" I wasn't mad. I was furious. I launched at him before he could react. My fist collided with his jaw, and the satisfying crack echoed through the room. He grunted, falling back against the bed. But I wasn't done. I grabbed his throat and slammed him into the headboard so hard that the wooden frame cracked. Amanda screamed, scrambling off him like the filthy snake she was. "Jason, stop. You're crazy." Crazy? Crazy? I was working my ass off every day, paying for our house, making sure she had everything she needed. And this was how she repaid me? Letting some random prick defile our marriage like it meant nothing? The guy groaned, trying to push me off, but I grabbed his wrist and twisted. Hard. A sickening pop filled the room, followed by his scream. I had just broken his arm. Good. Amanda yanked at my shirt, nails digging into my skin. "Jason, stop. You're gonna kill him." I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But instead, I stood up, chest heaving, and turned to face the woman I had once sworn to love until death do us part. She was still in just her bra and skirt, looking at me like I was the villain in this story, like she hadn't been the one betraying me. Her lips curled in annoyance. "What the hell are you even doing here? You're spying on me now?" I actually laughed. It was bitter, hollow, filled with disbelief. "Spying? Are you serious? You're the one screwing some loser while I'm at home thinking you're out with your friends." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, Jason. Don't act like some innocent victim. You've been so boring lately. What did you expect me to do? I froze. My mind blanked for a second. Boring? I repeated. That's your excuse? She crossed her arms, unfazed by the rage rolling off me. Yeah. You work late, you come home tired, and all you do is talk about bills and responsibilities. You're not the same guy I married. So yeah, I found someone who actually makes me feel alive. The guy on the bed groaned. Yeah, bro, he wheezed, cradling his broken arm. Maybe if you satisfied your woman, she wouldn't need me to do it for you. I saw red. Before I could react, the door burst open. Holy shit. A group of people, drunken partygoers, stood there, eyes wide, phones already recording. Some girl gasped, covering her mouth. Dude, you broke his arm? Man, you need to leave before the cops show up, someone else muttered. Amanda huffed, snatching her top from the floor. Great, just great. Now you've embarrassed me in front of everyone, Jason. I turned to her slowly, my fists still clenched. Embarrassed you? You embarrassed yourself the second you spread your legs for this piece of trash. Her face twisted with rage. Oh, grow the hell up. People cheat all the time. It's not that big of a deal. That was it. That was the moment I knew. There was no saving this. No fixing this. No waking up tomorrow and pretending everything was okay. Amanda was dead to me. I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. You know what? I said, voice eerily calm. You deserve each other. Then, I turned and walked out. She didn't follow me. The drive home was a blur. My hands were still shaking, knuckles red and bruised. My head was pounding, my heart racing so fast it hurt. When I pulled into the driveway, the house suddenly felt empty, lifeless. I sat there for a long time, staring at the front door, replaying everything over and over in my head. The betrayal, the lies, the smug way she acted like none of it mattered, like I was nothing to her. I had loved Amanda with everything I had. I worked hard for us. I sacrificed. I stayed loyal. And she threw it all away for a few nights of fun. She didn't regret it. She wasn't even sorry. I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to breathe. My phone buzzed, and for a second, I thought it might be Amanda. Maybe calling to apologize, to explain herself, to beg for forgiveness. But it wasn't. It was my best friend, Mark. Dude, where are you? Are you okay? I hesitated, then texted back. No, but I will be. Because this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The rage still burned inside me, but beneath it was something worse, emptiness. I had just watched my wife betray me. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. She didn't even try to hide it, didn't stutter when she spat out those cruel words. You've been so boring lately. What did you expect me to do? Like I was supposed to just accept it. Like I had failed her, instead of the other way around. The house in front of me, the home we had built together, felt like a stranger's place now. I didn't want to go inside. The thought of seeing our wedding photos, our shared furniture, our bed. Had she brought him here before? Had that bastard been inside my house while I was at work, slaving away to provide for her ungrateful ass? A fresh wave of rage surged through me, but I forced myself to breathe. Not now. I needed a plan. I checked my phone again. Mark had sent another message. Mark, Jason. Answer me. Man, are you okay? I hesitated before texting back. Me? No. But I will be. Seconds later, my phone rang. I sighed and answered. Jason, what the hell happened? Mark's voice was tight, worried. I saw the video. That was man, you lost it. Of course, there was a video. People record everything these days. Yeah, I muttered. I lost it. Did you? He hesitated. Did you kill the guy? I let out a humorless chuckle. No, but I should have. Silence. Then Mark exhaled. Look, man, you need to calm down. You broke his arm. That's already bad enough. If he presses charges, he won't, I interrupted. If he wants to keep that smug little mouth of his, he won't. Mark sighed. Okay, but what about Amanda? What now? What now? That was the question, wasn't it? For a second, My mind flashed through the options. Some men would beg, try to fix things, go to therapy, forgive. But Amanda wasn't sorry. She wasn't worth saving. She had made her choice. Now, I was going to make mine. I'm done, I said, voice like steel. I'm not sticking around for this. She can have him, but I'm not leaving empty-handed. Mark hesitated. What do you mean? I glanced up at the house again, my mind working a mile a minute. I mean, I said slowly, she thinks she got away with it. She thinks she humiliated me, made a fool out of me. But she doesn't know what's coming. A pause. Then Mark chuckled. Oh shit, you're about to go nuclear, aren't you? Damn right I am. Mark let out a low whistle. All right, man. Just don't do anything that'll land you in jail. No promises, I muttered before hanging up. I stepped out of the car, the cold night air hitting me like a slap. My mind was clearer now. The anger was still there, but now it was controlled. Amanda wanted to destroy our marriage? Fine, but I was going to destroy her first. The front door creaked as I stepped inside. The house was dark, eerily silent. I made my way to the bedroom, flicking on the light. Everything was the same. The neatly made bed, her perfume bottle on the dresser, my clothes in the closet next to hers. I stared at them, the life we had built together, and I felt nothing. No sadness, no heartbreak, just cold determination. I grabbed a suitcase from under the bed and started packing. Not for me, for her. I threw in her clothes, her makeup, her stupid designer bag she had begged me to buy. Every trace of her, every piece of her existence in my house, gone. I yanked open her nightstand drawer. My breath caught when I saw another man's watch sitting there. Not mine. His. That son of a. I exhaled sharply, forcing myself to stay focused. Instead of smashing it, I tossed it in the suitcase. Let her wonder where it went. Let him explain why he left it behind like a damn souvenir. Once her things were packed, I went to the bathroom and grabbed her toothbrush, her skincare, her perfume, every last thing. Then I dumped it all on the front porch. I didn't stop there. I grabbed a permanent marker and a cardboard box from the garage. In big, bold letters, I wrote, "For Amanda and her side piece. Hope he pays your bills now." Satisfied, I propped the suitcase against the box and locked the door. She was gone. She just didn't know it yet. I wasn't done. I sat down at the kitchen table, pulling out my laptop. There were finances to sort, bank accounts to freeze, a lawyer to call. Amanda wasn't just losing me. She was losing everything. Step 1. Move all my money into a private account. Step 2. Cancel her credit cards. Step 3. Find the best divorce lawyer money could buy. I worked fast, methodically, like a man on a mission. Amanda had laughed in my face, humiliated me in front of a crowd. Now, I was taking my revenge quietly, efficiently, and completely. By the time I was done, I leaned back in my chair, feeling lighter than I had in years. Amanda was about to walk into hell, and the best part? She wouldn't see it coming. Morning came faster than I expected. I barely slept, but I didn't need rest. I needed results. Amanda had played me for a fool, but the game was over. She just didn't know it yet. I stood in the kitchen, sipping my coffee, feeling the kind of calm that came after a storm. Last night had been rage, chaos, and destruction. Today? Today was precision. Her suitcase and the box were still sitting on the front porch like a neatly wrapped gift of consequences. I almost wished I could see her face when she came home and saw it. If she even came home. I didn't know where she was, and honestly, I didn't care. Whether she was passed out in some cheap motel with her broken-armed lover or crying to her friends about how unfair I was being, it didn't matter. She had already lost. I had spent all night making sure of it. Her credit cards? Canceled. Her car? In my name. I had already scheduled a tow truck to pick it up. Our joint accounts? Cleaned out. My money was now safely locked away where she couldn't touch it. Divorce lawyer? Hired. And not just any lawyer. I got the meanest bulldog in town. She was walking into hell, and I was going to enjoy every second of it. Around noon, I finally heard the sound I had been waiting for, the unmistakable screech of Amanda's voice. "Jason, what is this?" I smirked. "Showtime." I opened the door slowly, stepping onto the porch like a man who had just won a war. Amanda stood there, half-dressed, hair a mess, looking like she had just crawled out of someone else's bed. The only thing missing was the walk of shame music. Her eyes darted between the suitcase, the box, and me. What the hell is this, Jason? Why are my things out here? I sipped my coffee. Oh, you don't live here anymore. Her face twisted in disbelief. What? Jason, stop being dramatic and let me inside. I leaned against the doorframe, staring at her like she was a stranger. And in a way, she was. The woman I had married was long gone. You didn't seem to need a home last night, I said coolly. Or a husband. Her eyes flashed with anger. Oh my God, are you serious? You're doing this over one little mistake? Mistake. That word lit me up inside. I laughed, shaking my head. Mistake? Amanda, a mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. A mistake is burning dinner. What you did, that was a choice. Her jaw clenched. It didn't mean anything, Jason. It was just what? I cut her off, my voice dangerously low. Just fun? Just excitement? Just because I was boring? She flinched but quickly recovered, folding her arms across her chest. Well, maybe if you hadn't been so focused on work all the time, I wouldn't have had to find someone who actually gave me attention. I stared at her, trying to understand how she could be this delusional. I had worked hard for us. I had done everything right. And instead of appreciating it, she had the audacity to blame me for her cheating? I let out a slow breath, my hands clenching at my sides. You know what, Amanda? I'm done talking. Take your S*** and get the hell out. She scoffed. And where exactly do you expect me to go? I shrugged. Not my problem. She narrowed her eyes, trying to play the victim. You can't just throw me out, Jason. I have rights. I smirked. Oh, don't worry. My lawyer will explain all of those to you. But since the house is in my name and I already filed for divorce this morning, you might want to start looking for a place. Amanda's eyes widened. You what? I took a slow sip of my coffee. Filed for divorce. Froze our accounts. Canceled your credit cards. Oh, and your car's getting towed in about, I checked my watch, 15 minutes. She looked like I had just slapped her across the face. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. For the first time since I caught her, she looked genuinely shocked. Why you can't do that? She stammered. I smiled. Already did. She exploded. You son of a b**********. You're ruining my life. I arched an eyebrow. Ruining your life? Amanda, you did that yourself the moment you decided to screw another man. She started pacing, running her hands through her hair like she was panicking. Oh my God, Jason, you don't understand. I can't. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have any money. You can't just cut me off like this. I pretended to think. Maybe you should call your little boyfriend. Maybe he can pay your bills now. Amanda's face fell. That's when I knew. She had never planned on leaving me. She had wanted the best of both worlds. A husband who paid for everything while she fooled around with some loser on the side. She thought she was untouchable. She thought I would forgive. She was wrong. I hope he was worth it, I said, stepping back inside. Goodbye, Amanda. She lunged forward, trying to push past me, but I slammed the door in her face. The sound of her furious screams echoed outside, but I didn't care. I felt free. For the first time in years, I felt like a weight had been lifted off me. No more lies. No more betrayal. No more Amanda. I grabbed my phone and texted Mark. Me, it's done. Mark, damn. How bad was it? Me, she lost her mind. But I don't care. I won. Mark, hell yeah you did. Let's get drinks tonight. First round's on me. Me, you're on. I set my phone down, exhaling deeply. Amanda had played her little game, but I finished it. The sound of Amanda's fists pounding on the door was like a distant drum, a chaotic rhythm of desperation and rage. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The moment that door shut between us, our story ended. Whatever she had to say, more lies, more excuses, more manipulation, was meaningless now. She screamed outside. Words I couldn't make out but could easily guess. Insults, curses, empty threats. It was pathetic, really. She had spent months deceiving me, acting like I was nothing, like I was some fool she could string along while she indulged in her double life. And now that the consequences had caught up to her, she was crumbling. I sat down on the couch, letting out a long breath. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. There was no regret, no second-guessing. This wasn't some heat-of-the-moment reaction. I had thought this through. Every move I made had been calculated, precise. Amanda was out of my life, and she was about to realize just how much that meant. After what felt like 20 minutes, the pounding on the door finally stopped. I stood up and peeked through the window. She was still there, pacing back and forth, her phone in her hand, frantically calling someone, probably her broken-armed lover, hoping he'd come save her. I almost laughed. He wasn't coming. I had already looked into him. Chris Walters. A nobody. A washed-up ex-jock who never quite made it past the high school glory days. The kind of man who peaked at 17 and spent the rest of his life chasing a past that didn't exist anymore. I had broken him last night. Physically, sure, but more importantly, I had shattered whatever fantasy he and Amanda had built together. Because she didn't love him, he was just convenient. And now that everything was crashing down, she was going to learn exactly how alone she really was. After a while, Amanda gave up. She grabbed her suitcase, lifted the box with all her things, and stormed down the driveway. I watched as she stood on the sidewalk, looking around, her body shaking with rage and humiliation. I saw her dial another number. This time, she was on the phone longer. Probably one of her friends. I knew she would be crying, spinning some story about how I had ruined her life, how I had been unreasonable, cruel, heartless. I could imagine the words coming out of her mouth. He overreacted. I only cheated once. He pushed me into it. Because that's who Amanda was, a liar, a manipulator, a coward. But none of that mattered anymore. After a few minutes, a car pulled up, and she climbed in without even looking back. Good. Let her go. Let her feel what it was like to be discarded, to be treated like she didn't matter. It was a fraction of what she had done to me. I didn't waste time. As soon as she was gone, I grabbed my laptop and made the final moves. Her phone? Cut off. It was on my plan. After all, her gym membership? Cancelled. That was where she had met Chris in the first place. Her social media? Blocked. Everywhere. No way for her to worm her way back into my life. I even sent a quick email to our mutual friends, a short and simple message. Hey everyone, just a heads up, Amanda and I are officially done. If she reaches out, that's your business. But please don't send her my way. I'm moving on. I didn't go into details. I didn't need to. The people who mattered, they already knew. And the ones who didn't, I didn't give a damn what they thought. After that, I sat back and took a deep breath. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. That night, I met Mark at a bar downtown. He was already at a booth when I arrived, 2 beers on the table, a knowing smirk on his face. I slid into the seat across from him, exhaling slowly. So, he said, raising his drink, how does it feel? I took my beer, clinking it against his. Like I just walked away from a car crash. Mark laughed. Man, you didn't just walk away. You set the car on fire and watched it explode. I grinned, taking a sip. He wasn't wrong. As the night went on, we talked, drank, and laughed. It was the first time in months that I felt like myself again. No stress, no paranoia, no constantly wondering if Amanda was lying to me. Because now I knew the truth, and I had done something about it. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Amanda, you think you won? You're gonna regret this, Jason. I stared at the screen for a moment, then laughed. Regret? I had wasted years of my life on her. I had given her everything, and she had thrown it away. There was nothing left to regret. I deleted the message without responding. Amanda was the past, and I was done looking back. The morning after Amanda's final departure felt different. The air was lighter. The house, once filled with tension, now felt open, like a space finally purged of poison. I walked through each room, taking in the silence. No more whispered phone calls. No more lingering scent of cologne that wasn't mine. No more guilt gnawing at me, making me question my own instincts. I had done what so many men in my position failed to do. I had taken control. Amanda was gone, and now it was time to move forward. But first, I had to clean up the mess she left behind. I spent the morning making sure that every single loose end was tied up. I wasn't just removing Amanda from my life. I was erasing her. Her name? Off the lease. I made sure the paperwork was finalized, so she had zero claim to the house. Her belongings? Gone. Whatever was left, I tossed into trash bags and dropped off at the nearest donation center. Her debts? Not my problem. I had separated all our finances, ensuring that whatever she owed stayed on her plate. I was ruthless, and I didn't feel the slightest bit guilty. She had chosen to betray me. I had chosen to move on. Fair trade. By noon, I was feeling pretty damn good about how things were shaping up. Then, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it ring out. No voicemail. A minute later, another call. Same number. I sighed, answering it this time. Yeah. A familiar voice spat through the speaker. You're a real piece of Jason. Chris. I grinned. This was going to be fun. Ah, Chris, I said, leaning back in my chair. How's the arm? A pause. He wasn't expecting that. You think this is funny, he snarled. You think you can just do whatever the you want? I laughed. You mean like sleeping with another man's wife? Yeah, I guess I do. Chris breathed heavily on the other end, barely containing his anger. Good. Let him stew in it. She's got nowhere to go, he finally said. You really just threw her out like that? I frowned, pretending to be confused. Oh, you mean your girlfriend? Thought you'd be happy to have her all to yourself. Don't with me, Jason. I smirked. I think you did enough of that for both of us. There was silence, and for the first time, I heard it, the frustration, the regret, the cracks forming in whatever fantasy he and Amanda had built. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. What's wrong, Chris? Not so fun when she's crying on your couch, telling you she didn't mean it, huh? Let me guess. She's blaming me for everything? More silence. I had hit the mark. I let out a short laugh. Yeah, that's Amanda. It's always someone else's fault. First, it was me for not paying enough attention. Now, it's you for not taking care of her. Chris exhaled sharply. Go to hell. I grinned. Already lived through it. Thanks to you too. I hung up before he could say another word. Checkmate. As much as I wanted to never hear Amanda's name again, the fallout was just beginning. By the afternoon, I started getting texts from mutual friends. Hey man, I heard about what happened. You good? Dude, Amanda is telling everyone you went crazy. Bro, she's saying you left her homeless. That true? I rolled my eyes. Of course, Amanda was out there playing the victim. She wasn't homeless. She was just without a free ride. I didn't bother explaining myself. The people who mattered already knew the truth. The ones who believed her, they could go with her. Then, I got a text from her mother. Jason, whatever happened between you two, please let's talk. Amanda is really upset. I stared at the message, debating if I should even respond. I had always liked Amanda's mom. She was one of the few people in her family who wasn't a complete disaster. But I knew how this would go. She would try to guilt-trip me, to make me feel like I owed Amanda something just because we were married once. No, I was done. I texted back, short and simple. I'm not responsible for Amanda anymore. She made her choices. No response. Good. Let the silence speak for itself. Later that evening, I decided to celebrate properly. I went out, met up with Mark again, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was actually living. Not just existing in a marriage that had long since died. Drinks flowed, the music pulsed, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel trapped. Then, as I was sitting at the bar, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned, and there she was. Amanda. Her makeup was smeared, her eyes red from crying, but her face? Pure rage. You ruined my life. Her voice was low, shaking. I sighed. Amanda, walk away. She slammed her purse onto the bar. You think you can just throw me out like trash? You think you're the victim? I turned back to my drink. Amanda, I'm not doing this here. But she didn't stop. She grabbed my arm, nails digging into my skin. You'll regret this, Jason. You think you're free? You think you won? Her voice dropped into a whisper. I will make your life hell. I pulled my arm away, standing up, towering over her. Amanda, you don't have any power over me anymore. She shook her head, her breathing heavy. You don't know what I'm capable of. I smirked. Neither do you. And with that, I turned my back on her, walked away, and never looked back. She was nothing to me now. The night after Amanda's departure felt surreal. The house was quiet, too quiet. No murmured phone calls, no faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. It was just me, the ticking clock, and the distant hum of traffic outside. But the silence wasn't unsettling. It was liberating. I spent the next day erasing every trace of her from my life. Her clothes? Packed and delivered to a donation center. Her accounts? Disconnected. The utilities in her name? Switched. I moved through the house like a man possessed, systematically dismantling every last remnant of what we had built together. By noon, I had done what I set out to do. Amanda was officially out of my life. Or so I thought. The first message came from an unknown number. You think you've won? You're gonna regret this. I stared at the screen for a moment before deleting it. I didn't need to ask who it was from. Amanda's threats were empty. She had no leverage over me anymore. Then came the calls. First from mutual friends, then from her mother. Jason, she's devastated. You didn't have to be so cruel. Cruel? She had torn our marriage apart with her bare hands, and I was the cruel one for walking away? I ignored the messages and calls, but Amanda wasn't done. That evening, Mark and I went out for drinks. I needed a night to celebrate, to breathe, to remember what life was like before Amanda's betrayal. The bar was alive with laughter and conversation, a welcome distraction from the storm that had been my life. Then, as I was nursing my second drink, a chill ran down my spine. A familiar presence loomed behind me. I turned. Amanda. She looked wrecked. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes red and swollen. But beneath the mess was a glint of something else, rage. You ruined my life, she seethed. I exhaled slowly, placing my drink down. Amanda, walk away. She slammed her purse onto the bar, drawing attention from the people around us. You think you can just throw me out like garbage? You think you're the victim? I turned back to my drink. I'm not doing this here. But she wasn't done. She grabbed my arm, nails digging into my skin. You'll regret this, Jason. You think you're free? You think you won? Her voice dropped to a venomous whisper. I will make your life hell. I peeled her hand off my arm, stood up, and faced her. You don't have any power over me anymore. Her breath hitched. A flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. You don't know what I'm capable of. I smirked. Neither do you. And with that, I walked past her, past the years of betrayal and wasted love, and into my new life. She was nothing to me now. The weeks that followed were a blur of legal battles and whispered rumors. Amanda, true to her word, tried to dismantle my life piece by piece. She filed restraining orders, accused me of abuse, and spun a web of lies so thick it nearly suffocated me. But I wasn't the same man she'd manipulated for years. I had receipts, texts, photos, even security footage from the gym where she'd first met Chris. The truth was my armor. Her final act of desperation came on a rainy Thursday. I received a summons. Amanda was suing for half the house, alimony, and emotional damages. Her lawyer, a slick-haired vulture, argued that I'd driven her to infidelity through neglect. But when my attorney slid a manila folder across the table, her facade crumbled. Inside were screenshots of her messages to Chris, time-stamped months before she'd ever blamed me for being boring. There were hotel receipts, witness statements, and even a voicemail of her laughing about bleeding Jason dry. The courtroom fell silent as the judge reviewed the evidence. Amanda's face paled. Her lawyer stammered, demanding a recess, but it was over. The divorce was finalized in my favor. She walked away with nothing but the clothes on her back and a court order to repay the debts she'd racked up in my name. Yet Amanda wasn't one to surrender quietly. One night, as I sorted through old boxes, my doorbell rang. It was Chris, his arm still in a sling, his face gaunt. "We need to talk," he said, voice trembling. I almost slammed the door, but the desperation in his eyes stopped me. "She's gone," he admitted, running a hand through greasy hair. "Took off with some guy she met online. Left me with her bills, her crap, her problems." He hesitated. "She's pregnant, Jason." I froze. "And?" "It's not mine." His laugh was hollow. "She told me it was yours, that she'd use it to drag you back to court. But the dates don't add up. It's someone else's." Again. I stared at him, pity and disgust warring in my chest. "Why tell me?" "Because I'm done," he muttered. "She's a tornado. Destroys everything she touches. I just wanted you to know." He left without another word. The news didn't shock me. Amanda had always been a storm. Beautiful, chaotic, and utterly destructive. But storms fade. Months later, I stood on the porch of a new house, keys in hand, when my phone buzzed. A news alert. Amanda had been arrested for fraud. She tried scamming some millionaire she'd met on a dating app, using a fake pregnancy as leverage. He pressed charges. I deleted the article. That evening, Mark and I toasted to fresh beginnings at a quiet pub. "You ever wonder what she'll do next?" he asked. I shook my head. "Doesn't matter. She's someone else's problem now." As I drove home, the rearview mirror caught a glimpse of the life I'd left behind, a distant silhouette screaming into the void. But ahead, the road was clear, bright, and unburdened. Amanda had chosen her path. I'd chosen mine, and for the first time, the future was mine alone to shape.